The specialist Phil and Blake are back with another Deal or No Deal Island recap. Today, episode number 5, and we are joined by special guest from the current season, Phillip Solomon, who is still kicking and has avoided the wrath of Dr. Will. Phillip, put some sanity into what we just watched last night. What is going on?
Listen, I was as surprised as all of you. The thing with Dr. Will is he's here to put on a show. And as someone that grew up like on stage doing musical theater, I'm here for it. He's here for the musical theater audience. He's going to give us production every time. He's going to repeat the line. He's going to pan straight to camera. Like he's going to do all the things, which is, to be honest, as a friend, as a player, obnoxious, horrendous, annoying, a little scary. As an audience member, I'm all in.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I just had a blast of an hour watching you guys. And it was a thing of like, if you're not on board, you are just, it feels like this is the first time in a long time where I'm like, Parvati, are you the one doing this to other people? Why do you not like it when it's being done to you?
I think he really does give the other quote unquote celebrities a run for their money because, for lack of a better term, they've been kind of running things throughout. Parvati, everyone knows kind of who she is, but to be honest, I'm going to just tell you from my viewpoint. I think they know she's been on Survivor, but like that's about it. Like, you know the name, there's not a lot of her, so on and so forth, but like I know. And so for me, I was like, she's pretty dangerous. So I assumed if there was a plot to be had, a game to be played, she was going to be playing it. So I had to make sure that I was standing right next to her at all times. Dr. Will makes her crazy because she can't control him. And I think that really gets her down to her core. And she's so chill and namaste, but he gets her unhinged so fast.
So when we were watching it last night, it seemed like Parvati's biggest reactions were happening at the temple, right? It seemed like the temple is where she was really losing it. But as soon as Dr. Will got on the island, he kind of blew up her spot. So was this boiling to this point, or was this something that really just came out because she was tired of it at the temple, or was it more?
So at temple, what you guys are really seeing is her first verbalization of being like, listen, you are the worst person. You are super annoying. But if you're actually there to see the interactions, there's eye rolls. As soon as he rolls up to any group or social circle, she'll walk away. Like she has no issue in being like, no, we're going to play parallel games. They're never going to intersect. We actually swore that they were working together. That's how much they hated one another. We were like, wouldn't that be a thing if they were really working together? But it turns out they just don't exist in the same world. I think Parvati has made a career out of making small, sneaky moves that no one necessarily knows is happening. And Dr. Will has made a career out of making these huge, grandiose, big movements. And so they just can't play together because they don't see eye to eye.
Mm-hmm. She almost seems like, oh, I would never do it that way because that's the wrong way to do it. One thing I do have for you, Phillip, like we've said it. I think you guys all said it. You're the number one civilian so far. Like how are you balancing like your threat level? And I know that every single time, except you couldn't do it for the axe throwing, but you've been paired up with Parvati the whole time. Was that like your strategy of like, oh, I want to be there because she's making moves, but then ultimately this does backfire for episode 5, and I don't know if it's like, well, I'm never partnering with her again. I know you can't talk about 6 and on, but you've been paired up with her like 4 out of 5 times.
So in coming on to the island, I know reality TV well. I know pop culture well. And so for me, contrary to what I look like, I'm not super athletic. I never really played any sports or anything growing up. And so like I knew if I had any advantage in this experience on the show, it would be knowing who people are and how they operate. The one thing that I do have, and I think you guys can even kind of see it on the show, is the ability to make emotional connections, human connections. You guys didn't get to see a lot of it, but I had a one-on-one with Luke, Rock, Sydney, where like everyone was like, good morning, how are you? And I sat down with people one-on-one and I was like, what are you passionate about? What are you the most proud of in your life? And when you ask those big, important things, you make the real relationships. And I knew that that was going to be my strong suit. I'm afraid of heights. I can't swim. There's a lot of things along the way that I was like, okay, what can I do? And it's just make good relationships. And so as soon as I saw Parvati, who I clocked from the airport, baseball cap, mask, sunglasses, I was like, Parvati's right there. And so for me, I was like, oh, well, I need to work with her because I know her skill and power in the game. What I will say, and you guys are starting to see this right now, is that Parvati and I would work together in the excursions, but we never discussed the long-term game per se. So it's weird because we're like kind of in an alliance, but kind of not. We really never talk about the game long-term. We just talk about what's going to get us past whatever day, afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you said you clocked Parvati right away and you're a big reality TV fan. Who, obviously you saw Boston Rob on Deal or No Deal Island season 1.
Yes.
Who would have been your dream person to be on season 2? Like, was Parvati somebody you were like, oh, I hope it's Parvati, and then you saw her and you said, I got to work with her? Or was there somebody that you were kind of hoping to see out there?
Unpopular hot take. Housewives.
Really?
And yes, and I'm going to tell you why, because I know that I would probably be able to take them out in a physical challenge, but socially speaking, I know that they're good at networking. They're good at vulnerability. They're good at putting themselves out there immediately. Like, I hate people who are closed off. That's just not how I operate. If you've known me for 3 to 4 minutes, you've known me for years. I'll tell you whatever you want to know. And I know that housewives have to work on that kind of schedule where they're vulnerable immediately. They're honest immediately. So that's the kind of person that I kind of go towards. So I was kind of hoping to get at least one of those.
Gotcha. And instead you got Parvati, Dr. Will, and David, who at this point, are people picking up on David? Or it doesn't seem like anybody's talked about David being on Australian Survivor.
We know something is up with that man, but we don't know what it is. Okay. And this is kind of something that I wanted to like throw into the universe. Everyone's like, how did you not know he was Australian Survivor? And I was like, okay, wait, how did you know? And 9 out of 10 people will always say, because the commercial for Deal or No Deal Islands said he was. Like that. I'm like, okay, well, we didn't have that. We were just there. So if it were, let's say, like I am in no way a Survivor specialist, but I will say I've been pretty into Survivor for about, I want to say the last time Parvati played and on. So like the new era for all of that and like the last few years of the old era, I was there for all that. So if it would have been anyone else along the way, I would have known them, but I just haven't gone out of my way to like illegally watch Australian Survivor.
Yes, I am not a pirater either.
If it were anything, I would give you
film and TV production.
Right? The worst reality shows you've ever seen in your whole life. I will give you Joe Millionaire. I'll give you The Swan. I'll give you all of it. Like I have all that information, but like I never thought to go overseas. So I did not know who he was, and no one else really.
What's your favorite season of the Joe Schmo show then?
Ooh, I watched like a few episodes of season 1, and I was like, I'm out. Like this isn't it. And it's only because it almost like the respect that I have for reality TV, it kind of made a mockery of that. And I was like, no, we will not speak ill of reality TV. Absolutely not.
One thing about using your expertise, if people say Deal or No Deal is not as strategic as other games, what's something that like you being on the beach and you knowing it in and out, like what's something about the strategy of Deal or No Deal that the fans don't even know about that like you could be like, this is hard?
So in watching Traders, watching Survivor, watching all the things we're kind of watching right now, if you can get some power behind you and the numbers behind you, that's really all you need to achieve whatever you want. In this game, just to get out. They were like, why is Parvati still there? Why is David still there? Why is Dr. Will still there? In order to target one person and get them out, you not only have to do well in the excursion, do well in that, hope that you have the power to select someone to go in. Then you don't know if you want to send in that person or send in someone else. Then they have to make a good deal and have that power to be able to select that person in hopes that you trust them enough to take out the person that you originally wanted. There's so many different facets and layers. You can't just target one person and say, I want you out. There are like 3 or 4 things that have to happen before you even move there. So even though we're acknowledging who the threats are, a lot of them are still there because we can't get them out right now.
Yeah. And I think that's something that's fascinating about Deal or No Deal Island is you almost always have at least a 50% chance of staying alive. No matter what your situation is, whether you're the person who is playing Deal or No Deal, one of the people who's up for elimination in Deal or No Deal, whether you're at the excursion, no matter how it plays out, you almost have always at least a 50% chance, which, you know, if you're a gambler, you go to a casino, you play craps because that's your best chance of winning because you have like a 48 point something percent chance. You're still under 50% though. The house is still going to win. In this game, it really is kind of set up for you to win, but it's also being set up where there is still a massive layer of luck involved where the 25% chance, as we saw with Rock, could go wrong.
Yeah, so for me, that's
Rest in
why
peace, Rock, right?
Oh.
Was he a sweetheart?
honestly, justice for that man. But well, let's start with him. The Rock elimination, we were so hyped up and pumped up when he was playing the game because the personality that you saw during the game, when you saw it for time number 1, we saw it for time number 1. He was playing almost too low key of a game early on where you were like, where did that come from? And don't worry, all of us were like, where did that come from? We didn't know either. And so that's why we were so pumped up and like hyped up. Anyway, sorry, to go back to the original issue. That's why I think my strategy when everyone's like, what is it? And I was like, be good at relationships, because even if you lose the excursion, even if you don't do well, even if you have to go and play, you know that someone is not going to call out your name. I don't think right now in the game, I am anyone's target number 1. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, socially, physically, I should be. I've actually managed to, at this point, play up and leverage the idea that I am a teacher. I taught middle school English for 12 years, that I'm a vulnerable person, that I'm willing to put all these elements of my life out into the world and hoping that someone will hear me and feel seen and acknowledged. And they have somehow forgotten that I'm a competitive bodybuilder, a half marathoner. Like they just kind of let all that go, which for me works out great.
Yeah. So why do you think then when, you know, we're going back to episode 4 and then we'll get more in episode 5 again, but going back to episode 4, when they ranked, why do you think that you were ranked 4? Like, did that worry you to see your name 4th and you said, oh, my strategy isn't working as well as I thought?
No, because I think in looking at the mathematics of it all, that makes perfect sense, honestly, only because I've gotten the banker's bonus case and they know that I'm like on the athletic end. I'd be kind of insulted if I was down at the bottom. I don't think I want to be like that underestimated, but I also want to know there are people ahead of me and people behind me. And like what was great about that challenge, I feel like you guys are at the right age to like really go on this journey with me. It brought back like MySpace top 8. You got to rank your friends. You're like, listen, this is who I like. And I was like, wow, that is rough. And so there were so many people that knew we would be using the rankings for something else. So it wasn't really truly who was a threat. They just kind of put whoever they were working with down at the bottom and whoever they wanted to see out up at the top. So although it was like kind of representative of the big threats, it really wasn't.
Yeah, that makes sense. That really does. So Blake, what do you got? You look like you got a question.
One thing, Phillip, let's get it's not negative because I think I would play the same way.
All right, let's do it.
I have seen you have a sour face twice now, and one time was today. The first time it was, oh, I'm gonna take a shot at your target, or oh my god, a shot at my target, Seychelles,
Yeah.
and you were like, oh my god, what are you doing now? I'm gonna be whatever. You were sour there, and that was maybe the first time you're in limbo of danger. The second one, David on episode 5 seconds into this, goes, let's welcome the number one Deal or No Deal player in history, Dixon. And they cut to your face, and you just did that in front of everyone. I know none of the attention's on you, but America can see what you were doing. Was that ever a thing in your head of like, maybe all of this like relationship stuff that I'm doing, if I show my face whenever I am rolling my eyes, does that blow it all up? I don't even know what I'm asking here. Like, it's funny, those moments are happening to you, and instead of like, I think it's one of those things, you can't be stone face, I'm here for the game 24 hours a day. And I know I would lose because I would get emotional like that. So how do you balance that in your game too?
So when I went to the island, I swore I had a good poker face. Like I like swore by it, and getting to watch it back, I am a human emoji. Like I'm so sorry about that I'm like, oh, I should control any of this at any point. But here's what I will say. In getting to watch it back, I actually did not hate my reactions to certain things because I almost kind of treat it like I was in the classroom. My first like couple years or so, you try to be that perfect teacher, that perfect role model, that perfect like everything. And the moment that I stopped pretending to know everything for my 12-year-olds, and I said, yo, listen, I don't know, but let's look it up together and find it out together. I understood that they got to know me more and had more respect for the person I was. So I think that the reason that I think that audiences are like, he's sincere, he's genuine, because I'm not perfect all the time. I am extremely positive and optimistic. But I think if you're like that 24 hours a day, it doesn't read as genuine and sincere. So you have to be like, oh, he didn't like that. Okay, that's fair. I think if I had that weird smile on at all times, that would be absolutely absurd.
And so what was it about David introducing Dixon in that way after the $5 million case that just made you lose your mind?
Let's go.
Okay, for me, I think that of all the big threats, Dixon was like, I'm going to take out Storm. And I was like, why? And so like, it's just like on paper, it doesn't make sense. If let's say he would have gone for me or someone else, I would have been like, he got the banker's bonus. He did this, he did that. What is Storm doing? What has Storm done?
Storm is looking good.
Right.
And then doing nothing.
Push-ups. And I'm like, okay, sweet.
Storm's coming on our podcast in another 10 minutes from now.
Listen, I love Storm, and I think that he is one of my favorite people I've met as an adult. You know how like in your like late college years or so, you meet like all your adult friends, and then after a while you're like, I'm good, I don't need any more. But like him, he was a good one that I was like, you know what? He is a nice guy. We both live in Austin. We did not know each other before the show. In fact, we did find out from production. They like scrubbed our social media and stuff to make sure we did not know each other. So we actually met in Panama, which is ironic because we flew from here.
You flew together. That's funny. Yeah. That's funny. So you were talking
Austin
about
Bergstrom International, right? That's what it is.
Yeah, totally.
Bro, Blake went to UT Austin, so there you go. There's that connection. But so you're talking about trying to keep a poker face, trying to do all of that. You know Parvati's history. Episode number 5, you get to do a partner challenge again. You wisely partner up with Parvati. They decide that they're going to throw a twist at all of you. And they say, actually, you're going in there and you're competing against the other person. Now, you know Parvati's history, and you sit there and you lie to Parvati about the number on your case. What was going through your head when you did that? And were you surprised that Parvati also lied to you?
Okay, so I've been dreading the hammock challenge for a long time, a few months. And here's why.
You did nothing wrong.
No, but like, here's why though. There is a moral of the story, because you know me, everything happens for a reason. And you could always be like, what am I learning from this? What am I removing out of this experience? The way this excursion was explained, I did not understand the challenge at hand. Here's what people need to understand at home. To get that initial visual of like, oh no, that's big or super high or whatever else, they want to make sure those reactions are genuine and sincere. So we have the rules explained to us before we can see anything. And so I just want to like give you like a quick Spark Notes version on this. You're going to be hitting different levels at different heights of different like amounts, and you need to stop at the level in which you feel is a comfortable amount to take out your opponent, because you want to also bank a lot of money, but at the same time make sure that they bank less than you. Mm-hmm. And so I said, what? I didn't understand what the actual challenge was. So that's why I think you're watching us kind of go up there and not being able to see anyone else play or whatever else. I don't think we're doing what was supposed to be done, of the idea of like, we're bluffing and stuff. We're just kind of making agreements, because I don't know if any of us necessarily understood what it was at hand. And so I didn't understand. And so I was just like, level 4 is my highest. And she's like, level 4 is also my highest. And I was like, cool. Then we're both going to level 4. And then we just went there. Right. And so I was like, this is great. This is easy. And then they were like, okay, but like, we need more. And I was like, okay. So I have like 1.5 here. At that point, also understand, I am afraid of heights. We are high, 80 feet in the air. And I'm like, I have like 1.5 here, which I was like, that's like a small bluff, I guess. So I guess I'm doing what they want me to do, I guess. And Parvati's like, me too. And I was like, a tie, great, awesome. And then so then he was like, okay, because you're afraid of heights, pull the rope, I'll go. And I was like, okay. And then, you know me, I was like, okay, let's carpe the hell out of this. Let's like do it. I was like, you know what? Let's both pull the ropes, because if I came all the way to this remote island, let's both have this experience. I was like, I'm going to hate every minute of it, but let's both pull the ropes so that at least we both get to like experience it. And he was like, okay, cool, great. Pull the ropes, we go down. And then somehow I lost. And I was like, I don't know what's happening right now. And so then, but there's a moral to the story, I swear. Here's where I believe in fairness and I believe in NBC and everything else that goes along with it. I pulled aside some producers. I was like, excuse me, I don't understand what's happening. We had like a brief meeting and I was like, okay, listen. As an educator and also as an adult who has been diagnosed with ADHD, at that point I hadn't taken my medication for the day. And so that also does kind of put me on the neurodivergent scale somewhere. I was like, so listen, as a kid, you have IEPs and 504s and all that stuff in place. I was like, but for adults, there's nothing in place. And so I just want to be vocal and say, I will gladly accept the loss, but some people don't understand it the way that it's being communicated. So can we have like visual aids or something to confirm that we all have the same understanding of what's happening? And NBC was amazing. And from this excursion on, we received photos and everything going forward so that we all understood everything. And so the moral of the story is, yes, I lost, but for any adult that's afraid to advocate for themselves, of being like, I don't want to look weak or look vulnerable or look stupid or like I didn't understand something, take the time, because if they're a good person, they will hear you and understand you and move along with you.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, because I do feel like Blake and I have talked about that on some of these.
I have not understood at least 3 excursions after the production explaining. Not that it's a bad thing, but it is like, okay, I'm sure they knew more than I did. But there's at least 2 where I'm like, well, I would have been at risk. So, okay.
And Will, who does the traders and the Survivor with me, he's a challenge guy. Like, he's worked on a bunch of shows doing challenge producing. So he kind of likes to dive into what are the challenges. When we did season 1, it was me and him, and he was talking about how, you know, what are they trying to achieve with this challenge?
Right.
And I thought that this challenge looked really cool. See, my problem is, so Phillip, I'm the same way as you. I hate heights. I get over the 3rd floor of a building and I start to get sweats. Blake saw me at the Oscar Museum. He was making fun of me so bad. I couldn't get on the escalators. I can't get on open escalators because I get paranoid looking over the side. I feel like I get the call to the void. I'm like, what's going to happen? So for me, that challenge explanation would have been, I have to go up there. The people are talking in my ear and I'm just looking up going, I'm not going up there. There's no way I'm going up there. And so no matter what they're saying to me, I'm not listening. I'm getting 10 feet off the ground. I'm pulling the rope. I don't care what my case is. Hopefully I'm on the Dixon side and not the Dr. Will side, so I'm safe. But I appreciate what you said there, because it is kind of crazy how I don't think some people realize, like, how come you didn't understand that? It's like, first of all, these are complicated as it is. If you have a fear that's being played into that too, my wife will have conversations with me if we're in a high place and she'll be talking to me and all of a sudden she'll be like, you're not listening to me, are you? And I'm like, nope. Nope. I'm thinking about how am I getting down from here? That's all I'm thinking about right now. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, the visuals and everything like that. I feel like that makes sense though, because some of these challenges, I wish we got a little bit of a visual representation sometimes where I'm like, this would make a little bit more sense.
Yeah, it's one of those
Check out the website to find the
That's true.
I only throw that into the universe in case there is someone with a learning difference or learning disability that's afraid to go on a Survivor or Deal or No Deal or whatever else. Ask for what you want, because although I was the only one that spoke up, there were other people on the cast that were experiencing the same thing. And after this, you'll see us click in a little bit more. And so they did give us pictures and visuals, and they were absolutely awesome. They were like, oh, we never really thought about it like that. That I was like, technically, there's still instruction and comprehension that has to happen with it. So like, it's one of those things that as adults, we don't take into account, but it's still there and it's still very much a real thing.
Yeah. So
the one thing that I want to bring up right as this, because it's like 5 minutes into this episode, we do have your backstory of like, here's Phillip talking about not only, I think it's some of your childhood, and like, I want to inspire people. What was it like not only saying that in front of a camera, but like watching it back and like one more time? Like, has somebody come up to you in a grocery store in Austin yet and been like, are you on that Parvati show?
Number one, I did get recognized in the airport the other day, but there's a catch. Number one, I was with Boston Rob, and also they were like, and you're that guy, you're my favorite guy from that other show. And I was like, that's almost me. Okay, I'll take it. Cool.
Yeah.
But like, I did get recognized as a guy from a show, which is close enough. I'll take that.
Okay,
but
perfect.
It was a lot. I thought I would be okay watching it, and I was like, oh, 3 minutes in and I'm crying, watching myself crying. Inception. This is great. But I think that's kind of what makes reality TV. I always swore that if I ever got on a show or had an experience like this, that I was going to present myself sincerely and authentically, because I knew that growing up, I never had someone like me to look up to. And even in the classroom, everyone's always like, why did you teach middle school? That's like the worst years. And I was like, I know, because no one had a good 12-year-old experience. It is the worst years of your life. You're half kid, half adult. You don't really understand the rules and regulations and what you have to do versus not. And all you need is some adult to be like, this is going to be tough, but you're tougher. The world is going to be okay. And so I went back to teach middle school and being like, I'm going to be that adult. And so on this show, I was like, if I'm not forthcoming about my journey and my adversity, it looks very much like, oh, a cool, confident guy that's like a bodybuilder and personable or whatever else. Like, no, I spent elementary school in speech classes and getting pulled out for all this stuff. And it was the late 90s. So like, I guess, bless her on this, I had a speech therapist early on that was like, oh, you have such great energy and such great charisma. I'm sure that there are so many successful jobs that you can do where you don't have to speak. You're a great writer, you're this, you're that, or whatever else. And that didn't resonate with my spirit. I was like, then that means that everything I do, I'm going to have to talk all day, every day. So I went from being a teacher to a group fitness instructor to now like a Instagram, like positivity.
So podcast guests.
All I do is talk. Right now, all I do is talk, because I was told that there were so many things I could not do when they were like, well, because of this, you shouldn't really have a job where you can speak. And I was like, then that means I have to have a job where I speak every day.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, it was nice to see the backstory, because I do feel like the one thing that's happened, because we have Parvati, David, and Dr. Will, is we have seen a lot of the civilians, air quotes, be overshadowed, and we're not hearing the backstories. We know Lette played beach volleyball or something like that, right? We know that. But aside from that, we don't really know much about everybody else, maybe with the exception of Seychelles, because she was so close to going home in the first episode. So it is good to kind of start seeing that come out about everybody. And yours was the first solid backstory, where then you have poor Dixon in this episode not know what a Nunya joke is, which was just absolutely unbelievable.
Iconic, honestly.
Like absolutely unreal. So it is fun, though. We're finally starting to get a little bit more of the personalities, and it's like, okay, here's Phillip. Let's latch on to him with an actual emotional backstory, while some of the other players are still kind of working their way in. Because one of my biggest complaints with Deal or No Deal Island season 1 was the winner of the show. I didn't know. I did not know the winner of season 1. And so I think that the editors have learned from that, where it's like, okay, we had to get through these first couple episodes, but we knew Sydney really well. You know, we knew Rock at least a little bit, and we're starting to kind of get the backstory and everybody else. And it seems like whoever
Do you
wins
miss Sydney, Phillip?
Okay.
Or were you glad she left?
I have Spark Notes on everyone, because you know that I'm like the relationship guy. So I hopped on in there. On day 1, I was like, so Luke, what's your deal? And he was like, and so I was like, what's your story? My boy Luke did not go to culinary school, taught himself everything he knows. He has one of the biggest private chef businesses in his whole state. He cooks for celebrities and athletes and stuff like that. And just in the interest of the game and it being episode 1, it all got cut. Yeah. And then Sydney drove out to LA, lived in her car, had these big dreams and passions or whatever else, but she's always been on her own. And what I said is that's why she had trouble navigating group dynamics. If you really watch it back, Sydney is great with one-on-one because that's what she knows, but she doesn't really know how to fit in the group, and she's still kind of navigating that. But if you knew her story, it would make more sense out of it. And my boy Rock, he was at home watching the show with his grandkids, and they were like, it would be amazing if one day you were on that. And he was like, I'm going to apply. And he got to be on that show. And not very many people get to watch something with the generation under you and the generation under that saying you should go do it. And then they get to go be a star. And so I do think that there are all these amazing stories that are like intertwined that you're not really getting to see a lot of. And with every elimination, I felt them so strongly because I really got to know them so well.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you get the back-to-back Storm MG, because we actually haven't talked about MG. We're 30 minutes in. We haven't talked about the person who went home in this episode. What was it like from your perspective as that Showmance was going on? Because we had a lot of people calling it out, but we didn't really get much of the civilian perspective on this. So what were you thinking as that was going on?
We got to figure out a different word.
I know.
We got to call them Deal or No Deal Originals.
For me, as a big avid reality TV viewer, in my head initially, I was like, Showmance, red flag. And then I really took some time to sit with it and think about it. A showmance doesn't really help or hurt you in this game because it goes right back to kind of what we were discussing initially. It's not a threat. It's not majority wins. We're not making speeches at Final Tribal. It's not anything like that. We're like, you can be in a showmance and still either do really well in an excursion or screw one up or play the banker or not and still have the same 50-50 shot. So like for me, I don't really know what everyone was hyped up about because it didn't really help or hurt. Upside, at least here versus Survivor, we're like taking showers and brushing our teeth and looking kind of semi-attractive. So I'll take it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that wasn't a threat. I was surprised like when MG went here, but then it seemed like Dr. Will got rid of MG because he just.
Well, that was my next question because we got to. This is still a recap. So after the whole 80-foot tower, after the storming off of Dr. Will, you find yourself in a room full of people that are not quote unquote the family. And a deal is made. What is going through your mind when this is happening? Is this one of those where you're like rolling your eyes of like, this will never work? Or if you're like, this does work, and I'm into a Final Four alliance with all these people.
So for all of us, we kind of made the unspoken rule that whatever member of the family was vulnerable to go home or susceptible to would on that night. And so we knew, like, I wish it wasn't MG just because she brought such a great spirit and energy. I think she was just almost a casualty of war. I didn't necessarily want her to be. She was an amazing person to talk to, speak with, or whatever else. And there is a conversation that you guys did not see. And it was Dr. Will, MG, and I. And we were like, maybe we can save her. And it was just the three of us. And we sat around and we were like, so like, who are you working with? And you know her. At the time, she was 21. And she was like, well, I put my whole alliance up at the top for this. She said, well, I'm working with David and Parvati and Dixon, so I got to protect them at all costs. And Dr. Will was trying, and he was like, are you sure? And she was like, that's my ride or die. So we were like, okay, forget it. Like, it just, she just couldn't get the fact that we were trying to help, that we were like, maybe you could work with us. And she was like, I'm really comfortable with who I'm working with. And we were like, okay, I guess. So we had no other choice and we hated it. It was absolutely awful.
And so when they're talking about the family, like, you've been very close with Parvati in the challenges, in the excursions, but you're not part of the family. So are you just kind of towing that
shit about you in this episode?
And so, like, if MG is safe, right? Like, let's say MG had been safe there. Are you worried that people are going to perceive you as that potentially the next target because you are getting a little bit closer to Parvati?
To be honest, if you look at the footage that you're looking at, it's a pretty good representation of what went on. Parvati and I were always close in the excursion. We rarely had social interactions once we were like back at camp. Then I was with Seychelle and Letty and Storm. And so like it never really came up as a problem because I wasn't spending any time with them. I was just more like, you know, the people that live next door to you, you don't know everything about them, but you're the nosy neighbor. You know when their car has been gone for 3 days, and you're like, where did they go? Like, I was more like the nosy next door neighbor.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. And go ahead.
But when she does say, I love Phillip, we're gonna be friends in every excursion. This is my Parvati voice, I guess. But
you're killing it.
He does not have a mind for strategy. Hearing that on your couch, or I don't know if you watched it in arena with 80,000 other Deal or No Deal fans in Austin at on the Jumbotron. When you're hearing that, I think it is interesting to see the human experience of like, this is somebody I liked. This is somebody maybe I've not idolized, but I've seen on TV and thought she was great. Saw her in the airport, excited to talk to her. Now I'm one of Parvati's people that she's gonna try and backstab and talk crap about, and here's the crap being talked about you. What goes through your head?
I think for me, I've been watching reality TV enough to know that that is not a real insult. I've seen real insults. I've seen New York on House of Villains. I've seen Drag Race. Like, to be honest, in the grand scheme of like confessionals, being like, I don't know if he has like a mind for deception per se. I'm like, there are worse things you can say. Yeah. And to be honest, we're all the right age to be like, regardless of what you say to me, I've said worse to myself probably in the past 24 hours. So like, I'm good. I'm fine.
Yeah. There you go.
I fight myself in the mirror every morning before I step out to my excursion.
Literally, I humble myself on a daily basis. So that's fine.
I was going to say, though, that shows like that was really bothering Blake. So that's how soft Blake is. You know, Blake would have been out there like, Parvati, I hate you. I can't stand you.
Idolize me back.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, let's get to the greatest Deal or No Deal game besides the greatest no deal game ever. Dr. Will, when he lines them up and goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what's going through your? I always do what's going through your head. So let's see.
I have that. Well, I can phrase this better because Phillip, you used the word earlier, and I was going to jump in, but we were 5 minutes in. I'm like, we can't talk about sequential Deal or No Deal yet. You said mockery of reality TV. Dr. Will made a mockery of Deal or No Deal Island in this episode. He essentially tried to say this game is, 50-50 chance, doesn't matter, doesn't need to be a strategy, blah, 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 blah. What was going to Blake here? What was going through your head as you're watching him just go 1, 2, 3, 4 and be so smug about it as he's doing it? Were you frustrated? Were you in on the joke? It seemed like David was laughing, but David's also had his reality TV shot. Was it bothering you? Because you're like, well, hey, I'm here and I'm playing, and this might be my reality TV shot.
So, as far as Dr. Will's gameplay is concerned, at the time, I was like, you know what? Let's see what he does. Maybe let him cook. I thought to myself, let him cook. And here's why. Because I knew that if he lost the game, he would head home. If he won the game, he would take out MG. So overall, I was like, well, I guess I'm just an audience member here. It doesn't actually matter. But in getting to like really watch it as a viewer, I've had some time to sit with it, a long time to sit with it, to getting to watch it as a viewer. A lot of people don't understand that because of the legality of the experience and the show and so on and so forth, they have to randomize the amounts of money in every briefcase.
Yep.
The people that do not know what's in there, Joe, Kamari, Ben, even they don't know what's in there either. And so there's only one person from like the whatever alliance, Federal Bureau of Investigation, that actually knows the numbers in there, right? So like mathematically speaking, he's actually not doing anything wrong by being like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just so weird for all of us to be like, well, my great aunt died on the 3rd, so number 3. And he's like, I don't know, 1. And we're like, what? And he's like, I don't know, 2. And
I've had 4 neighbors my entire life.
Right. We were like, how many? But like, when did your great aunt die? Like, what's the number? And you're like, well, and Luke caught like what, like 11 trout or something? Like, I don't know. But like, there had to be a thing. And he was like, nope. How about number 4? And we were like, this is insane. And as you watch it as a viewer, it's much better to watch. That's why I was like, I have to be able to separate the idea of player versus viewer.
Yeah.
As the biggest Dr. Will fan on this podcast, because Phil did not watch his 2 seasons back when we were, I think, 8 years old and like 15. It's like 8 and 11 or something. What I want to say about Dr. Will, he says the words, but you didn't say deal or no deal. And it's the most insane. He clicked the button. I looked at my web browser. I have 10 minutes left of the episode. I'm like, what is happening? And he says, but you never said deal or no deal after everyone says all that stuff. Did you know that was going to happen? Are you in the moment when it's all happening? Is everyone saying their stuff? That's like a real strategy, I feel like, of you blew it because you told me all this negative stuff. And now I'm going to keep going and still be here.
We didn't know for all the civilians, for lack of a better term. Here's
Deal or Doniel original
happening, right? You get to you got to see it when David in challenge number 1 was sitting back to see which brief cases we all had. And then you got to see it again in excursion number 2 when Parvati was like, let's work with people and combine our map with their map. And now you're getting to see it again. The civilians don't know that you can just find the rules and find the loopholes of what they're not saying. So we always have an energy of, can they do that? Like we didn't, like we don't know. We are clueless. And I think anyone on your reality show, like for the very first time, you just take the rules at face value. And what really makes a good game player is to understand what they are saying and what they're not saying so that you can find somewhere in between. He knew that it didn't like count unless Joe said that. And I guess theoretically we knew that too, but we never thought to like try it out. And he did. And so like he wasn't wrong for doing that. We just didn't know that that was a thing.
And so, you know, we're almost at the 45-minute mark here, so I kind of want to like wrap it up a little. But what was Joe's reaction like in that moment? Was Joe like patting Dr. Will on the back, or were you like, oh man, Joe could eat Dr. Will and he could just throw him, into the ocean from here?
I need you to take Dr. Will's antics and bring it up to like 93 degrees. We're outside. It's humid. We do the excursion the same night as the temple. We're sweating. There's bugs everywhere. There's snakes. And he's like, I'm going to do that. And we're all just like, we have had it. Like literally, Joe looks at Will to be like, I am not the one or the two. I need you to get away from me. And it was hilarious because you get to see Joe kind of break a little bit. And I was like, that man is so mad right now. Like, technically, that's a rule. And we were all like, what? That's crazy.
And so as I'm watching this, obviously Deal or No Deal Island, I think they're going to get a season 3. I feel like season 2 has been a lot of fun, and I feel like it's grown off of what season 1 was. And now if they're going to do season 3, I don't think it'll ever go the way of the traders, because I do think there's a lot of value in having newbies, Dondiites, going out there and playing with reality TV stars. I think there's a lot to be had there. And if you go the same way as the traders, you're probably a less interesting version of the traders for that. So don't do it.
Agree.
But now there's got to be some thoughts going through people's heads of like, okay, Dr. Will was a great get, but did we want to put up with the antics? Because I can tell you now, knowing, having never seen his Big Brother seasons, if he makes it one more episode or to the finale, this is how he's going to be the entire time. And I do know, as a Survivor fan, there have been players where production's like, we've had enough, or we don't need to bring that type of person back. Or there's certain people who have played Survivor where people are like, how'd they never play again? Because production was just like, no, we don't want to do that.
Russell Hantz on season 3.
Exactly.
Let's go.
So for me, it's like, there's got to be a lot of thought that's going into who do we want to be bringing back for season 3? Because Parvati and David, they're playing by the rules. That, David's just getting his hair braided. He's doing cornrows. Like, that's all he's doing. He's not doing anything else. And like, but then you have Dr. Will, who's like, no, every second is going to be about me.
Okay, so we're not going to talk about that hair. Are we going to talk about it?
Whenever he called Dr. Will bitch made with cornrows, I literally texted Phillip or Phil, not you. I didn't text Phillip. I texted Phil, the other Phil. I was like, how is he calling somebody bitch made when he has cornrows right now?
Literally, that girl in your middle school class that went to Jamaica for spring break and wants to make sure everybody knows it? That was the hair he showed up with. And I was like, oh,
her name was KK in my case.
Yeah.
It was a lot. But anyway, I think after this, they're going to be very specific as far as who they invite to the island. I think at this point, Parvati and David are models, citizens, and Dr. Will is, listen, he brings the show every time. And although he's a lot to handle, are you not entertained?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, and obviously, I know you can't get into future or anything like that, but just
Deal or No Deal All-Stars in 4 years, what are you going to bring to that?
No.
What am I going to bring to that? To be honest, I am very much open to another experience. I think that you have an experience like this for time number 1. Everyone has their time number 1. And then after that, you're like, I get it now. Cool. Great. So I think that, do I think I would turn up my competitive nature a little bit and make it a little bit more outward? Yes. But do I think I will ever be the kind of person that's not a good person at their core that really values vulnerability and emotional connections? No.
And so my question is, was there a conversation? Because like you said, you'd love to have another experience like this. I know you've always wanted to be on reality TV, different shows, things like that. When you see Dr. Will doing this, he's eating up screen time. He's taken over. So is there part of you that's saying to yourself, I got to get rid of this guy just so I can kind of start to be I want to make sure I'm going to be on Deal or No Deal Island season 2. And I'm not going to be the person who gets one confessional and is gone. Is that going through your head as you're watching this?
I think that for everyone on our side of the line, me, Letty's, Hazel, Dr. Will's antics are in an effort to further our half in the game. So he's not really a problem for us yet, as far as I'm concerned. And that's why you see like a few of us smiling along with it, because like we don't love it, but we don't hate it either.
Okay, that makes sense. I like that. All right, so let's wrap this up. I just have one question from you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Is there anybody out there right now that we're not seeing much of, but is playing like really hard, or that you were like, wow, like they surprised you, or anything that was going on?
I think people underestimate Hazel's intellect. And I think in confessionals, you guys get it, but we didn't have those at the time. And I think everyone was sleeping on her. And I was like, you guys, she's witty, she's smart, she tells it like it is. And the thing with me and her is that we're actually very close outside of the show, because we have a lot of the same hot takes on things. It's just that we express them in very opposite ways. So we've kind of been, our friendship can be described as the devil and angel on your shoulder at all times. We think the same thing. We just express it very differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there she was, ranked at the bottom when you all did the cases.
But she backstabbed you.
She did, but I also knew that she needed safety more than I did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is there anything else? Nailing that axe throw, so it was do or die, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Easy.
Is there anything else that you want to say before we let you go here, Phillip?
Ooh, I would tell everyone to keep watching, because every week is better than the last. And I say this as a genuine reality TV viewer. Once Dixon takes Storm out, that opens Pandora's box, and it never gets closed again till the end.
I love it.
Dixon saved the season is all I heard. You know?
I guess. Sure.
Blake just said the one thing. Now Dixon's listening, and Dixon's ego just exploded. Oh, man. Well, I really appreciated this conversation. It was awesome to have you on during the season, too. We don't normally get to do these kind of mid-season interviews like this, so this is a really good time. Normally, we're talking aftermath, after the show, and having these conversations, and people are able to spill everything. It's fun to hear what you were thinking as this was going on, and after Dr. Will's antics. I mean, I'm so happy you were here so that I didn't have to listen to Blake just gush over him for 47 minutes. That would have been the worst way to spend a Wednesday afternoon. So thank you, Phillip, so much for doing this for me. I appreciate it.
Of course. It is my pleasure, but also, like, I want you guys to know, because I was kind of in the same spot of like teaching and reading and writing and just kind of throwing out content and hoping that it resonated with someone. And sometimes you just need someone to like clock in and be like, yo, you're doing a good job. So if you guys have not heard it recently, please understand I'm listening. People are listening. You're doing an amazing job.
Oh, thank you so much, Phillip. That means a lot. And now Blake's ego is bigger than Dixon's. So that was that. Thank you, Blake.
Good luck.
Yeah. But thank you all so much. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Phillip Solomon. We'll be back again next week. Blake and I recapping episode number 6 of Deal or No Deal Island season 2. If you want to catch up on all of the other stuff that we have going on the main channel, we are doing so much. We have started Australian Survivor, Brains vs. Brawn 2. McKenna and I did our cast assessment for that on Monday night. And the season premieres on February 17th. We are into the preseason for all of our U.S. Survivor stuff. So we're doing an over-under game tonight with Russell Muscle TV, which will be a lot of fun. Traders is going strong. Will and I will be podcasting that tomorrow. And then we still have the patreon.com/thespecialist, where we have so much podcasting going on. February is always our biggest month because we do best picture stuff over there too. So we currently have about 7 to 8 episodes coming out every week. And thankfully I have this calendar in front of me. So if you were a top tier patron at this point, you're paying pretty much 50 cents per episode. So check that out, patreon.com/thespecialist. Otherwise, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Phillip, thank you again. I can't say it enough. And we'll see everybody next time.
Absolute pleasure. All right.